Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Just one last item on the U.S.-Russian relationship in the wake of that CNN cyber attack special targeting Russia. The strategic arms reduction talks, the need to replace that treaty which expired last December, reported to be bogged down. Telephone call between Obama and Medvedev this week instructing the negotiators to try to solve it, but not solving it. Still important divergences indicating not all is well between Moscow and Washington, which is otherwise obvious. But now, we are now, I believe, about 1 week from the referendum in Iceland about whether the people of Iceland want to accept this outrageous extortion and blackmail of the British, the Dutch, whose government has just fallen, as we've heard, plus the International Monetary Fund and, of course, the European Commission in Brussels and the European Central Bank, all devoted to the sanctity of debt. So I'm very glad to be able to go once again direct to Reykjavik, direct to the fighting front for Þórarinn Einarsson to try to get the flavor of what's going on there in the streets and what the situation is, any last polls and so forth. So, Þórarinn, welcome.
Yes, thank you.
So, what can you tell us? We're all ears. 1 week to the vote. Am I right?
Yes, it's only 1 week, and well, there are not any new polls, but I think it should be about 85-90%. The question is if people show up to vote. Maybe it's kind of very embarrassing that the governments of UK and Netherlands have already made an offer that is considered 300 million euros better than the former. Actually, it was rejected from Iceland, but that's all, not just the government, but also the opposition. And they're trying to make a better deal. I think, though, that it seems that the Netherlands is not willing to continue. But anyway, we have at least a better offer. So it is kind of embarrassing to say yes in the coming referendum.
Okay, so it sounds like the British and the Dutch are already realizing that the handwriting is on the wall and the old deal is going to be rejected. Now, if there's a new deal, does that have to go through a referendum also?
No, that's it. Of course, there is no decision, anything in the air about that. We only have this referendum, but it's going to happen in 1 week. And but even the Minister of Finance, he just said today, maybe mistakenly, that he was not even sure if he would show up to cast his vote. Only that he would say yes if he would actually take the effort to go there and vote.
Let me ask you, is there a legal minimum in terms of percentage of turnout? In other words, people voting either way. Is there a legal minimum below which the referendum is invalid, or is it 50% plus one of everybody who shows up?
Actually, it is quite simple that the legislations around the referendums, they are very poor. And so I don't think there will be any issue regarding to that.
Well, I guess the task of right-thinking people like yourself is now to try to get the vote out. In other words, to urge people to go and vote against the International Monetary Fund, London, The Hague, Brussels, and the Frankfurt Central Bank.
Yeah, well, there is, of course, one thing that it could be easy to interpret the outcome, however it will go, in different ways. And, of course, there are people like some who are willing to accept the former deal before, and they say, of course, that's ridiculous to do it now, since we already have a better deal. But then there are others who don't want to pay at all. So people are really giving very different messages with their no vote.
So you're saying that after this election, the no vote will split again between those who want a better deal and those who refuse to pay?
Yeah, there is a no vote that says, well, we don't want to pay anything, and a no that is just common sense. You know, we already have a better deal.
It sounds like the younger generation is saying no to the IMF there in the background.
Yeah, it is quite probably getting stronger in general, opposition and also political awareness. You know, what IMF is really about and how it's behaving.
The other thing that strikes me is you've got this case of Greece, and I wonder if people in Iceland are following Greece, because they're under attack by Goldman Sachs, shorting their bonds and, of course, shorting the euro. It's the kind of speculative attack that Soros is famous for. He did it in 1992 against the European rate mechanism. But the Greeks have responded with a very large and successful general strike, which I think is absolutely exemplary. And maybe the program is not the clearest and the alternatives to the IMF are not spelled out, but at least the Greeks are fighting, and I think that probably has some inspirational effect. Am I right?
Yeah, well, I think it's been said here in Iceland that we actually have a more serious crisis, but the Greeks, they are responding more aggressively or actively, we could say. I think Icelanders are not, or maybe they're just tired. Of course, they had a very long wave of demonstration throughout several months, and it's a feeling that Icelanders have become a bit tired, and it seems many people think it's pointless to always go to show up in protest, since it doesn't really influence policy making, the government. And I think many people are feeling it kind of like a hopeless, and we really need a kind of new wave, new energy,
are there
new front.
Any final events? Is there like some kind of a final rally, in that famous square in front of the Althing? Anything?
No, well, there have been weekly demonstrations every Saturday, and there have been more people showing up. And these events have been getting stronger. So it is every Saturday at 3 o'clock, like tomorrow, people will show up. And that's always a signal.
That's the last one before the vote.
Huh?
That's the last opportunity before the vote.
Actually,
the vote is now the following Saturday, right?
Yes. So, tomorrow, the next protest will be on that very day, the 6th of March, the referendum.
Well, the Spanish Prime Minister Zapatero says that Spain is under concerted speculative attack. And, of course, they are. Iceland is even in a different category because whatever borrowing Greece and Spain and some other countries have done, Iceland never borrowed the money. They never signed. There is no legal obligation, right? There's no reason to pay. It's just pure extortion that the British and the Dutch show up and say, guess what? You owe us $6 billion plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was really hoping that we will get the focus more on the financial attack itself, because the main issue has been here just the consequences, not really what really caused the crash in the first place, and the elite, the financial elite behind the scenes.
That's our music. We've got to run, but we'll get you one more time before the big vote. We'll get you on the eve of the vote next week.
Yep.
We'll see you then.
Okay, we do that.
And we'll be back in a minute.
Okay.